Well, easier. Well, I slipped that one.
You look studly on that.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
But if you're gonna go underground, the difference is noticeable.
I can't believe something like the holes so small because their bodies so fast. The face
You want me to jump on, Wendy?
Is this gonna be the one thing?
It'll come up in the next minute.
Wow, hello.
You probably remember that today.
Yeah, I'm like,
It's okay, it's all
Okay, I got
being
you.
worked out. We'll hear about it soon.
So we're not gonna discuss this tonight.
Not tonight at all.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, how are
It's a
you?
rough week?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's 21st wedding anniversary tonight.
Oh, really?
After this, got some nice steaks set out.
Well, shit, brother, man.
Can't believe my wife's that crazy.
Happy anniversary.
Are we-
Well, I'll get you out
Are we
here
good to go,
soon.
Wendy?
January.
What about gold and silver? What's 21? Is that like aluminum?
At the Ortiz house, it was a bouquet of flowers and a card.
You co-host, Wendy?
I don't know. I'm not sure what that was.
I don't either.
It's called,
What the ethic is on that.
We're not up to the rank of real goodies yet.
Remarkable, and
Seems like it's
no, it's
like tins.
all designed to be able to be a notepad that you can write on and then it saves it to your
How long did
computer,
your
all that
parents
kind
go?
of stuff.
I
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
think they made it.
How are we doing, technology?
Can we get a confirmation perhaps from D. Tucky that you can hear us there?
Just like a thumbs up.
Thumbs up would
anybody?
work.
Thumbs up or a 603, 603. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If anybody can't hear us, just let us know.
Hey, you're the editors.
Yeah, sorry, I screwed
go.
it in.
Wendy, are we all good?
You can't get confirmation. We'll see. Oh, you wrote that. Never mind.
How many, if it's just,
It's just one other person, so, and they're on the phone. I got you. How do you thumbs up on the phone? You know that?
Yeah, if somebody on Zoom could give us a thumbs up that you can hear us, that would be really helpful.
Okay, got it.
all right, I'll now call the meeting of the Dunsmuir City Council to order at 6:02 PM, July 7th, 2022. If we could all rise for flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the agenda was posted this evening with a closed session happening earlier. The closed session was canceled prior to the meeting and did not take place.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
We did have one meeting in the meanwhile, and I can report that on labor negotiations, when we did meet, direction was given.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So that puts us back on track for our regular meeting agenda. Can we take attendance?
Councilmember Arth?
Here,
Councilmember Lucchese?
Here.
Councilmember Keisler?
Here.
Councilmember Deutsch? And Mayor Bryan?
Present. All right. We now open up the general public comment for this evening. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to come up and make a comment on anything that is not on the agenda later tonight. So anything generally that concerns city business or the consent agenda, which for tonight is simply the check registry from June 12th through July 2nd. Please come to the podium, or if you're on Zoom, raise your hand. You'll be allowed 3 minutes. You'll be given a 30-second warning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Okay. Tim Holt, 6235 Hill Street. As I think most of you know, democracy is under threat in this country and in other parts of the world. So there's all the more reason to do what we can to foster it right here in Dunsmuir. I'm going to read a brief excerpt from an article I wrote for an upcoming issue of the Northwest Review on this subject. At city council meetings in Dunsmuir, the official policy is to discourage any direct dialogue between city council members and the few residents who show up at council meetings. Citizens are limited to a short 3-minute talk when an agenda item is first introduced and must keep silent during the ensuing council discussion on the matter at hand. So as I see it, those few citizens who show up at the meetings are viewed as a potentially disruptive element rather than, rather than as folks who can make a positive contribution to the public discussion as policy is being formulated. If you really want to encourage citizen participation in local government, rather than just giving it lip service, I suggest you revisit your protocols on back and forth discussion between the council and its citizens. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Holt. Are there any further general public comments this evening? If you're on Zoom, go to the reactions tab and hit the raise your hand button. All right, seeing none, I will now close general public comment for this evening. We do have no special presentation or announcement, so this moves us into council and staff comments. Would you like to begin? Acting City Manager Michelson?
Sure, yes, thank you. So I've made a few announcements in the past about curtailment of our water system. And so I was getting weekly updates on it, and it normally is just no curtailment, no curtailment. Well, yesterday I got the email that we were curtailed. So effective today, the city water right is curtailed. And that simply means that we need to adhere to Municipal Code 13.02, and it's all on our website. I do have 13.06 here. The title is Water Shortage Emergency Provisions. There's a bunch of different numbered items that having to do with the emergency provisions. Just a few of them to note are like, if you're an odd numbered house, it's Sunday and Thursday, and even it's Saturday and Wednesday, something along those lines. And it's only for 30-minute periods. That's for watering your lawn. So just those types of things. The general consensus I want to purvey right now is that just please conserve water. I try to adhere as best as possible to 13.06. And on the news portion of the website is where there is a link to the actual ordinance itself, and as well as the California State Water Resource Control Board curtailment status update webpage. So these things are relatively updated weekly, so we could be out of the curtailment next week. But be on the lookout for any kind of updates along those lines. And if anybody has any questions, wants more detail, please feel free to reach out. And please pass this along to friends and neighbors, and just gently remind them that we are in a water shortage emergency provision time. And so if you see people watering on off days, just say, hey, heads up. And then, of course, there's other things in there too, like try not to water your sidewalk and that sort of idea as well.
Yes.
Maybe have this put into the next water bill, please.
Yeah, we could do that too. Yeah.
Another follow-up question. Could you clarify where this is coming from? I assume this is a state concern, not as of yet a practical concern for Dunsmuir's water supply?
Yeah, very good to note, right. In terms of the actual system, our water system itself, we are, we have concerns, but this is not, we would not be instituting this on our own system as our own water operators would not be instituting this. So this does come from the State Water Resource Control Board.
Do they have any thoughts on the duration?
No, I mean, they might, I don't know specifically.
They didn't share.
Yeah, they didn't share. So this, I mean, I don't know if this is the exact right answer to the question, but a while back in 2021 is when they first issued a curtailment notice. And then at that point going forward, it was always you had to check to keep looking at the statuses. So back in 2021, the state was concerned about the, water for the entire state. And so it just so happens that right now, so potentially with future forecasts of rain, they do lift things. And I have noticed prior entities, because you get a whole list of who is curtailed or not curtailed. So I do notice that in the past, people have been curtailed and then not curtailed, so forth. So they do monitor.
Do you know if we're curtailed on a regional basis, or is this just statewide, like the end of the road, everyone's curtailed?
Fantastic question. Just on my own, I looked around. I don't think Mount Shasta is, which I thought was intriguing, but Reading was. And then I think other cities don't have their own water right per se. So I checked a few other cities, and then I checked a few other locales around and they were curtailed. So
Wairika's been curtailed for 3 weeks. So I believe they do it by watershed. And so the Klamath went 3 weeks ago.
they're in the Klamath. Okay. So this is the Delta watershed.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are
Okay.
watersheds.
Any further questions?
And then my next, we've had a couple CDBG grants go through, so I just want to give a big thanks to everybody involved with that. And if you are an entity, a for-profit entity, please look at and try and get any kind of CDBG grant. There's a coronavirus version and a just Dunsmuir micro enterprise.
Do they go to the city for that?
They can come to the city, but the real place to really go is Quentin at the Siskiyou Economic Development Council. He's the one that knows everything. But feel free to come to us and we can point you there. And then lastly, I just want to say I'm getting a little bit. I've been working on the budget, so I just want to throw that out there, especially for Mayor Brian. All right, that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for?
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Sergeant Ortiz.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad to see that we got the contract hammered out, or at least an extension of it.
Yeah, it looks
That's
to be going in the
amazing.
right direction.
Thank you for all the hard work. Glad to still get to be here.
Well, to be clear, it's just we're going to get to the committee reports, but the sheriff is forwarding the extension to the supervisors, hopefully for approval, and we'll have a 1-year extension to really work out the future of our contract.
Okay.
But good
thank
news.
you anyhow.
Good news regardless. Good news regardless. We have the excellent Sergeant Ortiz leading us for another year.
We kind of like
I'm
you, man,
excited to
so,
do
you
it.
know.
So the city's been relatively slow. We had some good events last month. For the most part, everything went well. Town didn't burn down, and everybody seemed to be smiling, which was good. School's out right now, so the school checks have kind of dwindled off a little bit. We still watch them pretty hard at night. I like to see the troops get by there 2-3 times a night to make sure nobody's vandalizing, spray painting, anything like that. The sheriff's office has been getting some new staffing, not as much as we'd like to see, but we are getting some. My intention was to introduce one of the new deputies, but he's already off to a good start. He's actually at the Montague City Council meeting because he was able to solve a vandalism case where these teenagers had vandalized the water tower. So he went to that to see the apology happen to the city. So maybe next time with Deputy Thomas, but that's about all I have, really.
Thank you so much, Sergeant Ortiz. Are there any further questions?
No.
Enjoy your
But,
21st anniversary.
as I say,
Thank you. I'm in trouble for getting home late today.
All right, we can move into council comments. Councilman Kessler.
Yeah, just want to say Railroad Days was pretty cool with just a couple little glitches. I'm not going to go there. Brewfest is August 6th, and Steampunk will be September 24th and 25th. We're still looking for sponsors for both of these. If anybody's interested in sponsoring, I will like to thank Mr. Arth and Bombs Away. They stepped up. Rain Rock Casino kind of backed out. We were kind of under the impression that they were going to be on board with us. They ain't. So it's not all about us. Anyway, so if anybody's interested in being a sponsor for the Brewfest, you can get a hold of any Rotarian, myself. You can get a hold of Peter or Bruce. We'll tell you who to get a hold of and how to do it. I do want to wish Sergeant Ortiz a happy 21st wedding anniversary. And other than that, I've got nothing on the plate. So thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Arth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I only have one item I wish to address, and that relates to the minutes from our meeting of June 16th, noting that council members Keisler and Lucchese were absent. But for those of us that were present, we got to hear the public comment of Mr. Juarez on the landmarking of the California Theater, and most specifically, the actions taken by the Planning Commission. And I think the council secretary did an accurate job in using the word insinuate, where his testimony insinuated that the planning commissioners did not have the legal or business aptitude to deal with the issue at hand. Also insinuates other commissioners did not know what they were speaking about. And then he went on to insult me by name.
Yeah.
He went on to insult Tim Holt, calling him a liar, a gentleman that participates in city matters and has gotten more city awards than anybody I know. And then he went on to assault by name one of our recent appointees to our planning commission. And unfortunately, the presiding officer did not gavel him, did not admonish him. I know my colleague would have, but we're going to have the matter of the landmarking of the theater back before us again. And Mark Juarez, wherever you are, you could say bad things about me for the remaining time I'm in office, but that's it. And I do not appreciate any citizen, as far as I know, not on any committees, not reaching out to support any events. I hope we never see that kind of behavior again. Thank you.
Councilman Lucchese.
Thank you. I do not have much to report on today. We will have a couple of committees meeting on Monday, and then would you like to do, and then when we get to committee reports, you can do the city manager.
Yeah, do it quick.
I think that's just taking up most of my time is that process.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Vice Mayor Deutsch.
Thank you. I wanted to, first of all, point out that the LTC will be having a special meeting on the 12th to look at the new proposal for the route system. I haven't had a chance to look at it but what I'm hearing is that we should be very excited about the change, and I know they're at least working on having an express line that'll be working up and down. The other thing is that I had a chance to talk with Jason Young from the Economic Development Council. Quinton had recommended him because I wanted to find somebody there that could help jumpstart the industrial park effort at the airport. I don't know if you realize it, Ivan Young was a historical mayor in this town who was noted for his accomplishments, and there's a special cemetery plot there where people in town can go and visit him. Jason Young is his grandson, and so there's a real connection with Dunsmuir and a passion to try and do something nice for us. I met with him up at the airport, and we looked it over and talked about it. The other thing is that he's a special services, a former SEAL, Navy SEAL. So he's got a lot of passion and a lot of know-how, and he's excited now, and he's going to be working on trying to get the industrial park moving along, looking for grants for the infrastructure that would be needed for the industrial park up there. And then finally, when we do get to it, we'll have Linda Shaben is here to talk about the DPAC and give a report when we get to committee reports. But I am right now still working with Genesis to find out how much is available in terms of grants to get the systems that I talked about for the alarm system. So I'm still working that, but haven't got as much speed on that as I'd like. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Deutsch. So with committee reports, if DPAC is here, if you guys would like to go first, you guys can.
The music should play every time you take the podium.
Da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Linda Shaben, DPAC Committee. Just wanted to give you a quick update because we have been pretty busy. The core group that most of you have heard about, the volunteer group that's working to help do some fuel reduction, create defensible space, and help harden people's home. They did their first project today, and it was a home in South Dunsmuir, just under the city line. So it was in the sphere of influence, but one home, 16 cubic acres.
Wow.
They filled up 16 cubic acres from one property. Just to give you an idea of the amount of fuel reduction and cleanup that's needed in our community. Now, granted, that was a large, it was a 1 acre property, but still there's a lot of work to be done. They've got about 6 or 7 more homes in their queue right now. And so and we're trying to work out the bugs. It's a pilot project, but they're doing really well. Just to get started. Green waste is definitely raising, we're really seeing how the green waste issue is a big problem. We've got to solve it. So we in DPAC are going to be attending the Solid Waste Committee, and hopefully we can lend a hand and help with some options regarding green waste.
Mr. Mayor, if I could on that. Yeah, I think this is really bringing up something that if we're going to try and address fuel mitigation, we got to have a place to put that stuff. And so it really does behoove us to get more aggressive and creative in how we deal with green waste. Because we can do the very best job we can to make our city safe, and the better job we do is going to create more stuff to haul away or deal with one way or another. So
yeah, I do believe we've already tasked the Solid Waste Committee.
Mr. Mayor?
With that. We let Linda.
Well, I was on one of her statements, I had a question. You had said 16 cubic acres.
Did I say acres? I meant yards.
That's
16 cubic yards.
I
Oh,
just wanted to
gee.
get the record straight because my math, I didn't know how to figure that one out.
Well, thank you, Dave. No one else said anything. and-
Okay, so now we're on the same page. Carry on, thank you.
Yeah, it's a function of my age. I really need to be retired. This is crazy. No, 16 cubic yards,
Yes, ma'am.
1 acre property.
That's
So,
still
and
incredible.
we had to get it hauled away because we don't have a place to take it. They couldn't use Clemens, they had to use Smith. And that was a little bit of a difficult situation, but
I would recommend the Wairika transfer station. Also will bring down the larger dumpsters as well.
right, yeah. Hopefully, most of the homes in the Dunsmuir area are not going to be that much material, but it's still going to be significant. And let's see, the other thing that we're working on, Brian Shirley has come back from national training on Stop the Bleed. And so he is a certified trainer now.
would you explain what that is?
Stop the Bleed is a national program to teach citizens how to save lives during an active shooting event, or to do some simple medical techniques to apply a tourniquet. They found that if you can teach citizens, teachers, staff, if there is an active shooting event, if people are trained in some basic medical techniques, they can save lives. And so, but it also teaches situational awareness for events and places where there are large crowds, how to be aware, how to plan for events, those kinds of things. And he wants to do DPAC wants to help him roll that out for the city. We want to start it in Dunsmuir and train the teachers, the city staff, the recreation staff, the pool, a variety of different people. And so we want to come to you, well, we can work with Blake on an agenda item, or Bruce, we want to come back to you with that and ask you officially for, some support in terms of implementing that in Dunsmuir.
Outstanding.
And that's really exciting. I think it's going to be a really good program.
This is
And
one of
everyone would have
Brian's
a kit.
expertise. This is one of Brian's expertise, so that he brings that special expertise with him when he's talking this subject.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I just wanted to keep you updated and let you know that we're busy. And
Appreciate you.
And the other thing is, we have been lucky with rain, but I just can't impress upon everybody that we are, it's not if, it's when it's going to burn through here. And we need to continue to be vigilant about this issue and get people prepared. So
Thank you, Linda.
on that note, thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.
All right, are there any other committees that met?
We have not, but we do have a solid waste committee meeting at 5 o'clock on Monday, and we have a finance committee meeting at 6 o'clock on Monday.
Good job, Juliana.
Yeah, I do have those down now, so if anyone is interested in those are the two times, and they are both, are we gonna offer both hybrid or just online?
Yeah, they will be hybrid, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I forgot to mention, the chamber is having another mixer at the Railroad Park on the 12th at 5 p.m. So,
Yeah, flyer saying the 19th.
oh, I guess you're right, it isn't. I had it written down wrong. I'm sorry.
At what time?
5 o'clock.
And I apologize, I was gonna ask this about your comment earlier. Was the LTC special meeting August 12th or September 12th? Or sorry, July 12th?
July,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Did finance committee didn't meet on Monday?
I'm sorry?
Finance, no, we meet this coming up Monday.
Yeah, we did not meet this Monday.
Okay.
Because of the holiday.
Oh, of course, sorry. All right, and then committees, it was mentioned the sheriff's committee is still working on extension of our contract. We hope to have something back, I would think in the next 2 weeks in writing for that, and then we'll begin, hopefully with the new city manager at the helm, we can begin negotiations when they're ready. And then the selection committee for city manager met, and in addition to a panel of community members, did the first round of interviews, and we're happy to say we have excellent finalists for our final interviews on Saturday. And to remind everyone to be here at 9:30 for a special closed session. City
And
council
we
meeting.
will be providing lunch, which will be pizza.
It is 2 hours,
I
It'll
think
be-
more like 5.
Yeah, it'll be.
5 hours?
Yeah,
Just book 5 hours.
it'll be 9:30 to about 1 o'clock.
I guess I'm doing
Well,
2 hours.
you can get through the interviews by noon, but
You won't have lunch.
Yeah, well, the problem is after the interviews, we have our determination so that they can get offer letters together and get our items together for presentation at the next city council meeting.
You said 2 hours. I made arrangements. I was misinformed by the city manager.
well, I'm sorry, Dave, at this juncture, that date's been set long months out. If you'd asked me, I would have been able to tell you that it was probably going to be longer. If people are flying from across the country, it's going to have to be.
Yeah, I got an old man that's leaving town that needs my help.
We can discuss it further, but we're very happy to have the final interview and to move forward with any of the excellent finalists.
Lots of coffee in the morning.
Okay,
I will bring a big French press.
and pastries.
All right,
We'll bring stuff for you.
so
We pushed it to 9:30. They wanted to go straight 8,
No,
so
I'm happy to do it.
we were trying to work around everybody's.
all right, we've already had one comment on the minutes, but let's move on to item 10. There's no more committee reports. Let's consider the approval of the minutes for the June 16th meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion at hand?
I actually found out that if you are not at the meeting, you can vote on minutes. That if you are trusting in the minute taking and like concur with everyone else, you can actually vote on minutes.
It's fascinating.
I learned that, so.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries.
So, Councilwoman Lucchese, does that mean you trust our note
I
taker?
do. I do trust Wendy.
All right.
I don't know about the rest of you, but I trust Wendy.
Right on, touche.
All right, let's move into the consent agenda for this evening. We've got one item. Item A, check registry, June 12th through July 2nd, 2022. Any
Make a-
discussion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries unanimously. We have no public hearing tonight, so this brings us into old business. At the last council meeting, we were blessed to have several of the commissioners applying show up. I think some of them aren't here tonight, but I'd just like it noted for the record that I believe everyone was there on the prior meeting. We thought it best to confer with the full council.
I think everybody's here again today.
Okay. All right. Blake?
Yeah, so pretty straightforward. There's 3 open spots. I believe there's 4 applicants right now. There is there is no concern necessarily about the within the sphere versus outside the sphere. No, outside the city limits, yet still within the sphere. There's enough within the city limits that we're satisfactory in that realm. So no need to worry about that. And yep, you see the applications there. They are here.
All right, well then, I guess starting with those that are in the room, if you guys wouldn't mind, I don't see Dwight Bailey here. Right there.
He's right there.
Oh, there he is. Sorry. If you could please come to the podium and introduce yourself.
Yes, Dwight Bailey, 5906 Castle Avenue.
Yeah, just say a few words about why you'd like to serve on the planning.
I served on this council the last year. I've learned a lot. I think that's been things that the council has sent back down to us, and we've worked as a body, and I would like to continue with that.
Great, thank you.
Could you just maybe elaborate on some of the things that you've taken away so far? And then maybe, this is a question for everyone, what you hope to work on in the next couple of years if you're appointed again?
Okay. Well, we went through the short-term housing. There were not a lot of issues within that, but I think we were able to resolve all the issues that were there. One of the things, of course, I was concerned about that maybe others needed some time with was in that planning, they only wanted rentals to be 2-day rentals. They didn't want a single-day rental. And I had found out that during the pandemic, many cultures, many people on the road would like to prepare their food in one day for the next 3 or 4 days, of which a 1-day rental was very beneficial and was used a lot during that period. And we were able to work that out where we did that. We alleviated that. And there were other things like that. So that would be a big one that I think that we helped through. There are things that I think we maybe needed to improve upon, but I think that was one of the main issues that I enjoyed working through.
And then what are a couple things you'd like to work on if you were appointed again?
Well, I've always been interested in the downtown area, but we have a commissioner that's doing that quite well at this time. But I'm also, I look at all the houses. We only have so many houses in Dunsmuir. And it's kind of important to me to see that people follow the application where they get a permit on that. There's a revenue reason for that. If we're going to do an improvement in the number of houses that we have, I think it's rather important that we preserve these houses the best we can, and we do that through the permit application process. And I noticed as I've driven around in other municipalities, when one gets a permit, it's usually posted out front of the yard so that somebody knows that that remodel is sanctioned, it is going through the process. It's just not somebody bought the house, has moved up here, and has taken all the Doug fir doors out and put them in the rain. Through the permit process, I think they would figure that out, that some things are worth saving. And I think that's something that I would like to see a little bit more clarification, because it's not just the downtown area that I think we need to preserve. It's each and every one of the historic houses that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions of Mr. Bailey? See none? All right,
I believe Crash is here.
Crash, yeah. Well, is that-
Crash, you want to go to the podium?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind coming to the podium, introduce yourself and speak to why you'd like to participate in the planning commission.
My name is Stephen Crash Villegas, and resident at 4221 Siskiyou Avenue. I'd like to be on the planning commission to support the ambitious move that my wife and my child have made to this city. It seems like we're all coming out of a hard time, and things are not really settled, and it really wouldn't be a good move for us to not be involved in the process. We want to bring some business to this city. We want to support the economy. We want to move in. And we're just hoping that our contributions will be appreciated. And we want to be involved and move out of the big city. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Crash, I think it would behoove you and beneficial if you were to explain to everybody the piece of property that you own. It's famous. You've done a lot of work there. I commend you for that, but I think everybody needs to know the piece of property that you own, sir.
4221 Siskiyou Avenue is the former House of Glass Motel, which we will be rephrasing as the Iconic Motel, the Iconic Inn, if you will. But there's a lot of time that's going to be required to do this, and a lot of coordination with the city and the business chamber and such. So we're just getting to know people. Any questions more?
Yeah, Councilman.
Yeah, Peter.
My only comment, it's not so much a question. What has dogged me for my 4 years of service on the city council is I own a number of pieces of commercial property that ended up coming before both the planning commission and the city council numerous times. And of course, if there was anything to do on the planning commission agenda with the House of Glass, you understand you need to recuse yourself.
I do.
Very good. Thank you.
Councilman Lucchese.
Nope, you got me.
He got it.
He got
That's
it.
what we was all wondering.
I was gonna phrase it as a question, but
Well, I'm going to follow up with Mr. Lucchese's question for the last one. What would you hope to achieve, as far as things you think the planning commission ought to address in the next several years?
Pathways, supporting pathways, invitations off the freeway. How do you orchestrate that? How do you get people here?
From a planning perspective, though?
Go ahead.
Okay. Or no, I was just wondering what planning projects you would inspired to pursue. Were you, say, at the planning commission, were you bringing up a topic that, planning commission could consider or ask council for? What are some ideas for those that would be relevant to the planning commission? Like, we have a chamber that does economic development.
Right.
But planning commission has very specific tasks in the city function, dealing with planning and development. Sometimes with specific projects, sometimes just with ordinances that could allow that. Do you have any, you don't need to, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you have some ideas.
I don't have any readily available ideas right now, but I do want to fit in
Yeah.
and be a part of it.
Well, thank you, I really appreciate that.
thank you.
All right.
Michelle, please be unmute.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all for seeing me again. I'm visiting via Zoom. So I did present my application to you a couple months ago. Unfortunately, at that time, there was no open positions for a planning commission member to be outside of the city limits. I currently live at 4018 Catherine Street, which is exactly the city limit divide for Siskiyou County and city. So now that there's an opportunity for additional chairs with members included within the county, I would like to present myself as a potential planning commission member. As I previously stated to you before, I have a background in community development. I work as a project manager in commercial land development. I've also worked with multiple housing developments, apartments, and condos as a architectural drafter. So I have experience with California Building Code, the Health Code. I've worked with, sorry, I'm getting feedback.
Yeah, hold on, Michelle, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Let
I
me know
think-
when it's good to continue.
Yeah, so the main host computer got out of battery. So I am there. So I think,
I can hear.
yeah, we can hear you, but it might be feedbacky on your end. Because, can I change this audio? Sorry, go ahead and speak, Michelle. If there's feedback, we can try and fix it.
Yes, I don't have any feedback on my end.
Okay, go for it then.
Okay, great. So I was just explaining that I've worked with many different jurisdictions up and down California, from Bakersfield, Bay Area, Tracy, Sacramento, putting in commercial developments. And this includes convenience stores, fueling stations. This also means that I work closely with environmental, CEQA, underground storage tank removal, air quality. So with all of that experience that I have to offer to the Planning Commission level, I've gotten through, can't even count how many projects through Planning Commission for commercial development. So I've seen how other planning commissions go about. I've seen other cities, municipal codes, and have researched them in depth. So with that experience, and then the background of, this is my hometown. I moved here in 1991. I grew up here. I went to school here. I think I went to Castle Rock, Dunsmuir Elementary, Mount Shasta High School, ultimately graduated at Golden Eagle. I attended College of the Siskiyous. Sorry. So I have a big passion and personal investment interest in the city of Dunsmuir. I've always seen its potential for growth. I've always seen it kind of being held up on one leg and like maybe crutched a little bit, just kind of getting it going. And I do live here full time with my son who attends school. So I have that personal interest in seeing this community grow and see its full potential. And I think with my experience and background, I can offer the city just my insight, as well as my large network of developers I work with, and explore potential opportunities for further development here. So is there any questions or anything that you would like me to clarify at this time? Oh, I can't hear. Oh. I also cannot hear you.
We're working on it.
Okay.
Can you hear us now?
I can, yes.
Okay, cool. My question for you, Michelle, is kind of similar to our last applicant. Because you do work for a land development company, do you foresee any conflicts with that company putting in applications in the city of Dunsmuir and you having to recuse yourself on a frequent basis?
No, not at all.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions?
I thought she answered the ones we've been already asking, so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you.
We appreciate your
Of
interest.
course. Thank you, I appreciate. I'll put myself on mute.
All right, Chrissy Tamur, could you unmute yourself now. Thank you so much for applying for a second term. Glad we didn't scare you away.
Yeah.
Chrissy, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, it's been very eventful. And I'm happy to continue if you'll have me. So yes, I'm Chrissy Dunsmuir.
Excuse me, Chrissy, the audio quality is very poor. I don't know if you could do anything.
Speak more directly into the microphone.
How about now?
That's
Yes,
better.
ma'am.
Very clear.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
Gonna have to recycle those iPods, I guess. Okay, yeah, so I'm Chrissy Dunsmuir. I live here in Dunsmuir within the sphere of influence. I have a degree in community and regional planning. I've been a practicing planner for about 20 years. I'm currently working for Caltrans as an associate transportation planner, working on complete streets, which includes like active modes of transportation, such as walking, biking, rolling. I've facilitated public engagement processes for an updated general plans, land development regulations, zoning codes, natural resource plans. I've worked in several communities with it, small communities in mountain settings, like mostly tourism-based communities like Jackson Hole, Wyoming, Sheridan, Wyoming, Park City, Utah. And so I've got a sense of the small town planning issues, although I've only been in Dunsmuir for about 2 years now. But working in towns with significant development constraints and all the myriad of issues that come along with that, like the housing issues that we're currently seeing in Dunsmuir. So yeah, I've been, dedicated to supporting this community by upholding the municipal code and applying my 2 decades of experience in community planning and citizen engagement to help improve the city, and want to continue to do that if you'll have me. I guess what I'd like to focus on, I know the hard part is, as being on the staff side, I know that the challenge is always, do you have the budget to support the planning commission to do the work that they want to do? And I think that that's the challenge for this planning commission, is figuring out how to get the work done in a way that doesn't so much rely on the staff. And so, I would love some counsel on that at some point. I've always, I guess, had a healthy enough budget to be able to work on things that the planning commission wants. But I know in this, where you have a contract planner, it's a little bit challenging there. So I think that's something I'd like to, figure out how to do. And I'm happy to put in the extra time and effort to do that. I want to work on downtown revitalization and continue as the historic district representative. I'm also passionate about affordable housing, and I really would like to, put my efforts into citizen engagement to help the community to find its voice and to bring more people into the planning process so that we can, crowdsource some of the labor and the effort that is needed to do some of the things that we would like to do. So that's the gist of it. And I don't know if there's only one person from the sphere of influence that can be on the commission or not, but I'll just say this, that I'm really excited for Michelle and all of, everything that you said was just, I love that you're also applying. And if, there can only be one of us, and, I know that no matter what, I will find a way to support the community and get involved and get engaged. So I wouldn't take it personally if you wanted to give someone else a try at the planning commission, because I'd probably just, find another committee to jump on right away. So yeah, that's it.
Thank
Truly.
you.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. And thank you, all applicants. We really appreciate your interest and commitment to being on this committee. Clearly, there's 3 spots. There's 4 of you. Whoever is not selected, I do encourage you to stay involved. We have a number of other committee appointments that are coming up.
Public comment?
Councilman?
What, is there an answer to the question?
Yes, there is an answer to that. It's not a.
Not an issue.
It's not
Yes,
an
sir.
issue at this time, based on the composition.
Thank you.
All right, with that being said, I will now open up this appointment to public comment. If anyone would like to make a public comment, please come to the podium or raise your hand if you're on Zoom. All right, seeing none, I will close public comment and we can begin discussion. Councilwoman Lucchese.
So I want to thank everybody for applying and continuing to apply. I really appreciate that the last couple of times we've gone to appoint planning commissioners, we've had more applicants than slots, which is amazing. And people have been really committed to reapplying. So I'm looking to support Michelle's appointment to this. One, because I think she has a background that could give a really good perspective on planning commission decisions. I think having that private sector factor into some of the decisions is a really nice thing to have. And I don't think we've necessarily had that aspect before. You know, trying to balance all the different interests between the 5 members is always a really good thing to have. I also really appreciate Chrissy's efforts so far with the historic district. It's a type of topic area that the city council has only started to delve into, and the more that we can do with that. And of course, the city council deals with the same issues as planning commission, not having enough budget to do some of those projects that we would love to delve into a lot more. So I support Chrissy's appointment as well. Thank you, Mr. Bailey, for reapplying. I was very happy with the answers that you gave for the things that you want to work on in terms of preservation and housing. I think that's a really important issue for the community at this time. So I'm happy to support that appointment as well. And Stephen, thank you for coming to the community. I really appreciate you being interested in this position. I really hope you get a chance to maybe attend a couple planning commission meetings, because it has a very important but very kind of almost pigeonholed focus. And I don't know if you're the type of person I want to pigeonhole. I kind of almost want you to kind of go off and do your thing without a bunch of constraints to that aspect. But I'm really appreciative of your interest and really hope that you stay engaged with us. Again, there's a chamber mixer coming up, and there's a lot of opportunity to help them, even if you're not a business owner in town, to kind of help with that economic portion of that. So I really hope you stay interested with us. But I'm happy to make a motion to appoint Chrissy, Mr. Bailey, and Michelle to the Planning Commission.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Councilman Arp.
Well, perhaps the best way through this is to abstain on my part if there is 4 votes for the motion. But unfortunately, Mr. Bailey, you lost my confidence, and having observed you as a planning commissioner in the context of the planning commission work on the landmarking of the California Theater, in your comments, you criticized those that drafted the petition that over 500 people signed. You said the petition was poorly drafted, and then you went on to say that there were dozens of people, hundreds of people, that if they knew what they really signed, they never would have signed that petition. And I thought that was not very constructive, that really the hearing was about the findings of your 2 fellow commissioners on the landmarking proposal. And so in criticizing the drafting of the position, again, you're criticizing Tim Holt, who writes for newspapers. You're criticizing me, who writes petitions. You're criticizing Rod McLeod, the town historian. So I would be a no vote, but I'm happy to abstain, Mr. Mayor.
I'd be happy to separate my motion into 2 motions, and we can, if there's no dissent to Chrissy and Michelle, I'm happy to separate that to a motion to appoint Chrissy and Michelle to the two of the planning commission seats.
I'll
And then we
second
can-
that.
Yeah, just to have a clean vote.
All right, well then let's first take up Chrissy and Michelle.
May I have a discussion on that?
Yes.
First of all, my thoughts, I just wanted to say I thought that Councilwoman Lucchese's comments were very spot on. The one thing that I felt coming into this was that the existing members, unless there is some problem, I would recognize the idea to continue them. So that's my viewpoint on that, and the reason that I was seconding the original. And the other thing is I'm really excited about having both Michelle and Chrissy on board, two people with a lot of background, and I'm excited about that. I just wanted to make it clear that before we vote, that's my view on the situation. That's all.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I have to concur with those assessments.
We do a roll call vote?
This is motion to appoint Chrissy Tamor and Michelle Feasby to the Planning Commission. Councilmember Arth.
Aye.
Councilmember Lucchese.
Aye.
Councilmember Keisler. Councilmember Deutsch.
Aye.
And Mayor Bryan.
Aye.
I guess going to the discussion that Councilmember Arth brought up, would you be happy supporting Stephen to the planning commission at this time based on his answers, or would you have the seat remain empty and re-advertise? Because that is an option.
I don't know. Probably, well, I don't know.
Can I say something? May I say something?
Councilman Keisler, yes.
Stephen, I appreciate you, and I'm thinking that me and we're gonna be co-friends. So as that, I don't think this is for you, my friend, because you're gonna be a big dog, and you're gonna be jumping into a fight that you can't have a say in. And I don't think that's for you. There's all kind of places and people we even got city councils coming up. But as far as the planning commission, being only the piece of property that you own, knowing or looking into the future, for you to do what you want to do and not have a say, don't tie your hands. That would be my advice. And I think the council would concur with that assessment. It's already been said, you understand that you got to recuse yourself? And for being on planning commission, owning what you own, recusing yourself, why are you doing that? Nah, don't go here. Go other places. That would be my suggestion, my friend.
Well,
Okay?
thank you, Councilman
I'm just
Keisler.
saying, but
No. Yeah.
I've seen Mr. Bailey in action too, and I've seen him get a little carried away at things. I've seen him in action in other areas. And the dude's all about Dunsmuir. The dude's all about the kids. The dude's all about prosper. I wasn't there, don't know what happened, but I do know that he has served. He's willing to do it again. People, what are we looking for? If they want to come back and do it again, we need to take that into consideration. That's my thought.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I've been sitting here thinking about this and thinking about the comments earlier on about some back and forth having to do with criticizing people. I think that this can be a learning experience. I think that as we look at this, we realize that in the various committees we serve on, the commission, the council, that it would behoove us to abstain from throwing out those kind of insults. And I think if we go forward with that, having been a learning experience, we can look forward to a more productive planning commission going forward.
All right, well, thank you, Councilman Deutsch. Are there any questions on the original proposal? Councilman Arth said he does not have an answer to whether he would nominate Crash alternatively. So we have a motion to approve Mr. Bailey. Is there any discussion of that further?
Well, I rescinded that and separated the two.
Yeah.
Well, then I'll make a motion to approve Mr. Bailey.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion of the motion? All right, well, I'll say one quick thing. Crash, I'd love to talk to you about economic development, pulling cars off the freeways, the future of this town in so many ways. And
so many.
I think we
The
need
chamber is the place for you right now. The chamber is where you
a
want.
different group, but I appreciate your enthusiasm. And to Mr. Bailey, I have myself, observed some tangents in discussing planning commission at city council. I would like to maybe have better training for council and planning commission to go over what the correct role is, because I think some clarity with communication between the two maybe doesn't best happen the way we've been doing it. But I really appreciated hearing about your passion for historic preservation. If you guys don't know it, Mr. Bailey has in his personal collection pretty much the foundation of what could be the Dunsmuir Historical Museum. And I think someone with that perspective in the long run has been helpful on the planning commission. So I'm happy to support.
Call the vote.
All those in favor, say aye.
No, it's a roll call.
Roll call.
Okay, motion to appoint Dwight Bailey to the position of planning commissioner, Councilmember Arth,
No.
Councilmember Lucchese,
Yes.
and Councilmember Keisler,
Aye.
Councilmember Deutsch,
Aye.
Mayor Bryan.
Aye.
There you go.
Motion carries.
Congratulations,
One.
Councilman.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you, everyone, for your
Thank you.
interest.
Thank you.
Welcome to the team, Michelle.
Commissioners, welcome.
Yes, thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Have a lovely night.
Rocket.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. We now move into new business for this evening. And thankfully, in item A, we can appoint a citizen member to the DPAC committee. I believe they have several openings, and we have one applicant before us. Michael Clarno, I believe he's here. If you could come to the podium and introduce yourself and maybe say a few words about why you're interested in being part of DPAC.
I didn't recognize you, haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, and I just got a haircut last week.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So my name is Michael Clarno. I've been a member of this community for a long time. I went to high school here, graduated in 2008. After that, I went off to Santa Cruz, got a bachelor's degree in environmental studies. That included some classes on various natural disasters, their causes, mitigations. After college, I came back, worked for my dad's business, the Dunsmuir Brewery Works. I also did an internship for Fire What for a short time. I'm not sure if that hurts or helps my application onto this committee. But that was doing GIS and getting trained in fires and how they affect communities. For the last couple of years, I've worked as the human resources manager at the Mount Shasta Ski Park. And in that capacity, I've also assisted in our risk management department, which during the summer works a lot with fires. And in this winter, it's basically, we're always hoping for a blizzard up there. So it's working on how best we can keep things running and open in extreme conditions. And I'm really looking forward to serving the community and giving my knowledge and learning a lot as part of DPAC.
Any questions of Mr. Clarno?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Yeah,
We got the right guy for the right job.
Anybody that doesn't like him gets shot.
All right.
Indeed.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Clarno.
you.
Thank you.
All right, I'll open up public comment on the appointment of Mr. Clarno to the DPAC committee. Seeing none, I'll close public comment so we can proceed.
Would be my honor to nominate Michael Farnell to the DPAC committee.
Second.
That's why we all didn't say it at the same time.
All right.
I'll give that to Peter.
Any discussion
when
of the motion at hand? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Against?
Thank you,
Welcome to
Michael.
the DPAC
Thank
committee.
you.
Thank you. Thank you all, commissioners. Moving on.
Yeah, so we have our second new item. We have vacant and distressed building ordinance and historic preservation ordinance discussion, an update from our city manager.
Yeah, so thank you. Just as a very quick update, I know a couple council members wanted this discussion to occur. So mainly an opportunity for you all to discuss and interpret and do whatever you guys wish. But the update from staff and to the general public as well, just in case reminders, there are two ordinance that we are discussing or going to be talking about. It is City Ordinance 9.14, which deals with the abandoned and distressed real property. So that the ordinance defines abandoned and distressed throughout 9.14. And then there is City Ordinance 17.28, which deals with the preservation of the historic nature of Dunsmuir. And so those two kind of somewhat go hand in hand to a certain degree. The city ordinance 9.14, abandoned and distressed real property, is essentially where if it is abandoned or distressed, the property owner must register that parcel as abandoned or distressed and pay a $500 annual fee. So there has been, I can't remember the exact number, but has been there's been a few, at least double digits, have been registered. With those registrations, there is an inspection procedure. So those have been being scheduled. A couple have been scheduled. There's actually been a couple that have now been taken off the registry as they have either been sold or I guess only sold at this point. Yeah, I think it's the only one that's been off has been sold. So that is however you deem. And so that's basically the update with the abandoned distressed building. The next thing with the historic nature of Dunsmuir, so this is just within the historic district, which for anybody of those involved, it is essentially from this building all the way up to essentially the brewery and the library, and then down south on Sacramento Avenue, somewhat the same dimensions. There's certain property lines there. But within those deal with more aesthetics, and there was a walking tour done by our code enforcement officer, community service liaison, and the building inspector. So there was a walkthrough done. First of all, there was a letter out to all the parcel owners within the historic district, which I mentioned last time, just reminding everybody there about that ordinance. Then the walkthroughs did happen, and then those individualized letters, which have to deal with everything from paint chips on the outside, things like that. Just to reiterate those specific details. And then those letters, we don't have a specific date on when they will be sent, but they will be getting sent out. So I just know that that's important for council. So really time for you guys to discuss or hear from public at this point, or any other questions without getting anything too specific.
Satan, sorry. So in terms of what the building inspections have discovered, I mean, you can't get into specifics, obviously, but have we found areas that we're glad we found and things that we can work on? And is that moving along then? Or was it just kind of like went out and didn't really find anything?
No, we definitely found some things in the vacant distressed building ordinance. We definitely found some places that were definitively distressed. And we're very fortunate to have discovered those buildings, even needing to board some up and get that in the process. So definitely a very, very good thing to move forward with.
Have they been formally red tagged?
The one definitely was formally red tagged and boarded, and that one has since transferred ownership.
Just for reference, a red tag is when you pull the occupancy permit under the building code and you therefore cannot enter that building.
That's
It's
right.
considered trespass.
Very true. Yep.
Good, I'm sure there are additional questions clarifying Mr. Michelson's report. Councilman Arndt?
Well, my recollection is that enforcement staff, you reported that they surveyed the whole city and there was some 20 residential, and I remember the number 11 commercial that you thought. So for those 11, where are we?
I think almost all of them were registered the last time we talked, because I was trying to remember. I think there were 13 commercial, and I think 11 of the 13 had registered. So that number sits in my head.
Yeah.
And then there's a uniform schedule when you've registered or not for the compliance features of the 9.14 ordinance?
I believe it's an annual fee, annual renewal.
It is an annual fee, annual renewal. And in terms of actually physically going out to do inspections of things, we've just done alphabetical.
And my only point there is, I hope you stay in very close touch with the city attorney through all of your enforcement activities, because you're going to have to defend that this is professional and impartial and fair.
Good point, Peter.
On the second one, so The staff did a visual walking tour of the historic district, and now you have a building by building inventory of those you feel are not in compliance.
We've noticed specific deficiencies that are spelled out within that ordinance,
And we're preparing the letters to notify the
and
staff.
preparing a specific letter to say,
And will the letter say, we noted you need to repaint this, or you need to repair this, you have 60 days, or will they just say, we noticed these things?
both. There is specifications of timelines within the ordinance. I don't remember exactly what it is right now off the top of my
60
head.
days.
But-
60,
but
did you have to?
Okay.
Yeah,
Some-
60 days to remedy.
Yeah, depending upon the issue of the building exterior itself, it may be allotted more than 60 days, depending on the severity of the repair. So for example, masonry, things like that, that may take additional time
For sure.
is typically granted more.
The notion is to get the compliance discussion started.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Based on the last time I think we brought this up, your opinion then, like, was to just dust off the old ordinance and pretty much begin its compliance as written, and it should work pretty well compared to the utter lack of enforcement these past decades.
Absolutely.
So it's a new process, and we're just getting it out on the road for the first time, and it sounds like we're moving along down the path then.
I mean, in terms of this iteration, yeah, correct. Yeah, we've dusted it off and now we're moving forward with it.
Wairika's doing a whole bunch of stuff too, so we can send over information as we go through the same process.
We love information as much as we can.
I know.
Yeah,
I used to do
I had
Mount
one
Shasta
question.
too.
Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Arth kind of beat me to it in some ways, but how is it working with our city attorney? And the follow-up question, do you foresee us needing to retain additional legal services to handle the volume we may have in the short term?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. We definitely should probably allocate a little more in the budget process for just generic questions. We've been dealing with, the community service liaison has been dealing with, our city attorney's kind of second in command person. And they have a great working relationship. They email back and forth quite often. So they are in constant contact. The other maybe potential thing I want to mention is there's been some more work with this receivership process, which kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with. And so there are definitely major costs in terms of a receivership type.
Yeah, upfront, we should receive remuneration for them.
Exactly, right. I mean, the hope is through that process to get those funds back, but there may be times where it won't happen. And so
Typically about 80% of the time you do not recover any funds.
Because they redeem the property prior to.
Because typically the city's claim, if it's a foreclosure especially, the city's claim become junior to anything that's related to the state taxes and things like that. So we end up getting on the back end of it. I don't want to go into like the super, we're dealing with it in Wairika. So like I've already been told like receivership is an option. We try with compliance first, and then go to liens, and then we go to receivership, because receivership, you tend to not get reimbursed those dollars nearly as much as you'd like to be.
but that is a tool in the tool belt that is effective.
I will email you after this meeting, because you can use CDBG funds for abatement.
All right.
Oh, that's
So
great.
Thrown into 82. Yeah, Fund 82.
that's not our money that we can spend. So
That's like having
I like
an
spending
extra
not our
angry.
money.
Right there. Boom.
So remind me of that later.
Well, my more specific comment about legal counsel, for the 4 years I've served, I don't think this body has heard a single administrative appeal. And so once you start the enforcement process, the first recourse for a non-compliant owner is I'm appealing this management decision to the full council. And now we're not acting as policymakers. Now we're acting as sort of quasi-judges. So whether we do a dry run before the first real one, I don't know when these will start to occur, but obviously we should have council present and we should be briefed on the appropriate procedure so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot.
Maybe a training would be nice.
Yeah, and there has been actually an administrative hearing already for one of these The cases were made, the private property owner made their case.
Not in front of this council.
Well,
It
no, so-
hasn't come to this council yet, so
No, so
that.
there's always a two-step due process. So they go to city manager first, and then if they want to appeal that decision, then it comes to council. Having those two checks is always preferred for due process.
Yeah, because we ain't had one yet, so
That is
it would be nice to know
the
what,
system working.
what to
Yeah.
do when it does happen, though.
Yeah, I think,
Public comment,
well, I don't think we're providing any
action, so we don't need it.
action, but if anyone is interested, let us open up public comment. I know this is a matter of great concern
That's
to
what
the
I
general
thought, yeah.
citizens. Please come up to the podium.
Music should play when he comes up too.
Yeah, right. I'm still Tim Holt, and I'm still at 6235 Hill Street. My understanding from the city manager's presentation is that the city is committed to inspecting residential, but also the 13, I guess, commercial buildings that have been cited under the vacant building ordinance. And my understanding also is that the idea here is not to penalize, property owners, not to go after them. The idea is to get these buildings at least minimally fixed up according to the city building code, so that they are more attractive to businesses that would want to rent or lease them, and therefore help, our historic district, our downtown, our commercial sector, whatever you want to call it. The only question I have is, so we have 13 commercial buildings, I guess, that fell under the vacant building ordinance, 11 of which I think said registered, and two have been inspected, I think, commercial buildings, if I heard you right. So my only question is, what kind of schedule do you anticipate for, inspecting the remaining commercial buildings? Are we talking about, I don't know, a year, 2 years? What, do you have any kind of time frame? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Holt. Is there any additional public comments on this topic? If you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand. Seeing none, I will close public comment on this item. If anyone has any additional discussion to bring up to Mr. Michelson at this time?
I think just to address Mr. Holt's question, is there any other anticipated inspections coming up? I know that we're having issues with some of the individuals allowing access, which is always an interesting factor.
But what is the
Yep.
timeline?
So what is the timeline? So we've pretty much taken the initial steps on all of them. Whether that's the first step to say we need to inspect, and either haven't heard back yet, heard back with a negative, we do not want you to come inspect. So then it's our response to say, you've registered your building. In that registration process, it allows us entrance. So passing that along, informing them of that, then just continuing the dialogue in that sense. But in terms of timeline, I would say 2 months.
2 months, not 2 years.
I would not expect 2 years, but again, it is according to council's wishes to all the other demands that are placed upon staff. So as priorities dictate, according to the 5-member bodies you guys have.
That was the best political answer you've had so far. I'm very proud of you.
All right, any additional questions or comments? All right, thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Blake. I just want to recognize that in the 7 or 8 months, or 7 months with you at the helm, and Mr. Allen, of course, helping in code enforcement, it's my opinion we've actually achieved more code enforcement success than in the prior 2 or 3 years before that.
Or decades before that.
Well, not even counting that. So,
Decades.
Staff is instrumental, especially Mark, and especially the rest of staff has been extremely instrumental. So we feel very fortunate here.
Thank you. So we'll move into item 15, future agenda items. We have a great many agenda items coming up in the next meeting, notably the landmark status for the California Theater, Possibly, I believe we'll be ready for the discussion regarding the waterway coming from the downtown tank. We still have the audit to review. We wanted Finance Committee to have the opportunity to deeply delve into it and, provide recommendations to council prior to. That may or may not be ready.
Community promotions fund.
One of the things that could get a little confusing, and I'd like to see if we could work this out to make it as effective as possible. With this group from CORE that's here, we have an opportunity with a major organization, Sean Penn, et cetera, to be able to be on the forefront of a pilot program. And as I mentioned before,
Excuse me, from the audience, gentlemen, I'm sorry, I have a hard time hearing him when you're talking.
That's okay. Okay, so what I'm basically looking at is that if we're going to make this effort that have these young folks here and the support of CORE and the idea it's a pilot project, there's going to need to be some coordination to come up with some of these solutions. And I'm sure a lot of it's going to be on the Solid Waste Committee. But I'm just hoping that we could work towards having in the very near future, either the next meeting or the meeting after that, a presentation from them on what their plan is and what they're doing for us. And so I'm just hoping that we could do that. And I know that Linda's been working with Blake to come up with a time and how to put that on. But I'm just hoping that we can do that so that at least by the middle of the summer, they have the connection with the council and can be moving forward, because that's what they really wanted. They chose us over Happy Camp because they thought they had a community that they could reach out to and connect with and do something during the summer. So I'm hoping that we can be as forthcoming with setting up the process as we can, and that's all. So hopefully the next meeting or the meeting after, we'll have a briefing from CORE and the team.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's an excellent idea.
I will note that I might be either remote the 21st. So if we would rather me be present, then maybe if we could move it to the next Thursday. I do know that's the same time as DPAC, but just schedule wise, or we can discuss that at some other time.
I'm fine with, I think Blake is not going to be here most likely in person for our next meeting. I think remote for you is fine.
Yeah.
I don't want to hold
Yeah.
anything up. We have a lot of business going on.
Yeah, no, we need to keep the ball rolling. You can zoom in.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
That works.
Thank you, Blake.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Wow. Do you remember back in the day
Second.
when Ed Steele did that? No, you can't.
All those in
because
favor
there
say
might be
aye.
a gun to your head. Remember that?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi. Thank you.
Yeah, he was down at Loma Linda
Yeah,
with
you
cancer.
can't zoom in.
Hey, Linda.
Might have a gun to your head.
Linda.